I wanted to do a video for you to show you how to implement a logical data model using Visio. Now I know we did this, the basic template to do an ERD earlier this semester, but Visio actually has a template included in it that's much more powerful than the basic diagram that we used for ERDs. So I thought I'd go through and walk you through this. I'm going to skip the ropes framework for today because I just want to walk you through how to do this. I'm also going to show you, by the way, some insight into how foreign keys work. So these two are kind of a utility that I'm putting together for you to help you understand. So I'm in Visio and I'm going to bring up the database model diagram option. You might have to look under software. There's some different categories here. If you go to software, you'll see there is one called database model diagram, and then I'm just going to say create. Now Visio includes some built-in templates here which make your life a lot easier, and I'm going to view in because I'm sure you can't see that, so I'm going to increase the resolution here to 125%. That'll give us a little bit more visibility. Now one thing you want to do in Visio is you want to go to the database ribbon, which I have actually turned off automatically so that we have a little bit more room to work. But you want to go to the database tab and go to display options, because by default it does not use crow's feet notation, and we're going to be using that for class, and so you want to make sure that you check the crow's feet notation. You should also show the verb phrase. I don't think you need to use both forward and inverse text. It does get to be kind of wordy when you do that, so I would just say show verb phrase and just check forward text and say OK. And once you do that, now you're going to be consistent with our class in terms of how we're modeling. Let's pull in our entities here. We're going to use 3 entities, and you just click and drag them like this. And if you double click the table, it will open up a window, and now you can type in computer. So what we're going to do is we're going to build the relationship that we did in the earlier video. We're going to build the LDM that we did earlier. So we're going to have a computer, we're going to have an employee, and we're going to have a department. There we go. Easy enough. Now we want to actually add the entities. Now it's important that you do not add in any foreign keys. You want to let Visio handle the foreign keys. So we're just going to type in the columns. So we're going to go to the columns for the computer, and we had serial number. And by the way, I always like to have the primary key at the top. And as I tab through this, you'll notice that there is a PK column, and that is probably not surprisingly for primary key. So if I hit the space bar, I can check that, and that will bring that up to the top now, indicating that it is the primary key. And so now I go to type in make and tab through that and model. Now we can actually assign appropriate data types, and we're going to do that when we get to the physical model part, but for now we're just going to keep it simple and not worry about that. So for employee, we're going to have employee ID. And of course, that's going to be a primary key. We'll check that. And we'll do last name and first name. Okay, good. And then lastly, we're going to do department. And so we've got department, I think I did DEPT ID, primary key, and then DEPT name. And again, now we're good. So now we have our 3 entities, and by the way, moving things around in Visio is not quite as obvious as it seems. You need to click and select it once and then drag it. If you don't, it just kind of bogs down. It doesn't like to do it that way. But if you click once and then move it, it's much simpler. Now we're going to click and drag the relationships in. Now if you recall, for department, an employee could be a part of one department, and when you drop the relationship, you'll see there's, by default, it has a one side and a many side. So let's connect the many side appropriately, like this. And if you click and move this anchor point so that it is over, so that this whole thing becomes red, the nice thing is that Visio will move that with you. So if you move it around, it will find the best anchor spot for it, even if you do move it around. It's a good thing to do because sometimes you want to connect it to the side, sometimes you're going to want to connect it to the bottom. So by doing it that way, Visio will choose for you automatically the best anchor spot. Now if you recall, we wanted the employee to be in one and only one department, and right now it is optional. The way to change that is to go to the settings for this foreign key. You'll notice that the foreign key was mapped automatically. Again, we took the primary key from the one side and it mapped and became a foreign key on the many side. That's great, but we want to change this to be from optional to be mandatory. We want an employee to be in a department, period. And the way to do that is to go to the settings for the foreign key here and change it to be required. And once you check the required button, all of a sudden this will change to be mandatory. So if you see that again, if I uncheck it, this becomes optional. If I check this, it will automatically become mandatory. So that's a nice little trick to learn. Then with regards to the computer, there is no many side, so I'm just going to go ahead and connect this. And you'll notice it maps the foreign key here, and the foreign key, of course, is optional, like you would expect. And like I said, sometimes you got to play around with Visio a little bit to get it right. All right, and it's good. And now what we want is this side right here to be 0 or 1. And if we double click on the properties, we can go to miscellaneous and change it from 0 to more to 0 or 1, and that will change it. And you'll notice again that the foreign keys are set up. We want the foreign key for serial number to be optional because it is optional on this side. An employee does not have to have a computer, so we want that to be not required. Oops, okay, there we go. Sorry about that. And then with regards to the other one, employee must be in a department, and so that should be in bold here because that makes that required. And again, if you go to the settings for the employee table, you'll notice the column, this is required. So serial number should not be required. That makes this optional. But department ID should be required. That makes this mandatory. And that's pretty much it to create a logical data model in Visio. It's not too bad. It's actually pretty straightforward. But you may need to play around with it a little bit to get used to configuring some of the relationships. Once you start getting used to it, though, I think you'll find it's pretty straightforward. So the other part of our, I guess, bonus video, if you want to call it that, is explaining and understanding better what a foreign key is and how it works. So if you look here, I'm in Access right now, and Access is a very simple relational database. It's not the best database by any means, but it does provide some help and some assistance to illustrate simple concepts. And so you'll notice that I have the relationship set up here. I have employee, I have department, and I have computer. You may notice that, for example, that this looks like a one-to-many relationship. Well, unfortunately, Access does have limitations in terms of the modeling and its diagramming approach. But if you double-click on the relationship, when I double-click on the relationship, you'll see that it does say that the relationship is one-to-one. I did some tricks to make that happen, which I'm not going to cover today, but this is a relationship between the computer and the employee, and it is actually one-to-one. If I double-click this appropriately, you'll see that it is one-to-many, like you would expect. So we have these relationships set up, and you'll notice that I use the same column names, I use the same serial numbers, and consistent with what I just talked about with Visio, I'm going to go into the employee table settings. I'm going to go to the design view here in Access, and you'll see here these are my columns that I'm using in the database for the particular table, the employee table. And consistent with what I just showed you, you'll notice that department ID is required because we do want employees to be a member of a department. That's mandatory. But I set serial number to be not required, optional, so that we don't have to have a computer assigned to us. So I just wanted to show this to you. Now you might wonder, how do foreign keys work? I mean, what's the whole purpose of this? Now we're going to do a whole section on physical implementation later on, but I thought it might be helpful to see the role that a foreign key actually plays. So let me show you the computers that we have. Let me bring this up here. We have two computers available. We have serial number 12345. That is a Dell XT3, which, by the way, that's the computer that I'm using right now. And then we have a new Microsoft Surface Pro, which is serial number 54321. Now you're going to want to remember these numbers: 12345, 54321. Those are the two computers that we have. So I'm going to close this out, and now I'm going to go over and look at the employee information. We have some employees here, and I tried to use, again, numbers that are pretty straightforward, and these are the employees that are in my company. So I'm going to close that out. And then lastly, I'm going to bring up the department. And you'll notice that these departments correspond to the departments in the Learner College. We have accounting and MIS, finance, economics, hotel, restaurant, institutional management, business administration. So those numbers are pretty straightforward as well, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I want to close that out. Now I want to enter a new employee. We've got a new employee, and his name happens to be Mark Serba. And let's put his information, 9999, give him a new primary key, and his first name is Mark. Now, one of the things to remember, by the way, with regards to entities is, of course, the numbers have to be unique. If I make a mistake and I accidentally assign him a number that already exists, Access won't like that. It'll say it would create duplicate values in the primary key. So that's one way that Access actually, or any relational database, enforces data integrity. So I've got to go back now and give myself a new number, a unique number. And so that's one way that we have enforced data integrity. Now you'll notice that department here, I've given myself a department, but let's say we skip that. It comes back and says, hey, wait a minute, you must be assigned to a department. That's our business rule. And again, these all go back to business rules. That's why this is so important. Business rules are so important. The database is enforcing the rules that we have set. We've said that an employee must be a member of the department. Must be a member of a department. So I have to assign somebody a department. Now let me enter a number 12, which if you remember, we didn't have a number 12. We only had departments that were 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If I enter 12 and I move on, it'll come back and says, I can't do that. I can't enter a number for a department because there is no number 12. So it's going to really constrain me to enter the correct number. And since I'm in accounting and MIS, I'm going to hit a number 2. If you remember, that was accounting and MIS. Now I don't have to apply a serial number because I might not get a computer. And if I do that, it's not going to hiccup at all. But if I decide later on that I want to add a computer, and you know what, I really like my eye on that new Microsoft Surface Pro, so I'm going to go ahead and assign that number to me. Okay, and if I hit tab, it comes back and it says it's not successful because it's going to create a duplicate value. Remember, our business rule is that a computer can only be assigned to one person. So this isn't going to work. It's not going to let me do that. The only way it would let me do that, see, I can't even get off that field. I have to remove that number, go back, unassign it to Steve. Sorry about that, Steve. And then go back and say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And what I'm doing now is reassigning it. So you'll notice that something very simple here. That what I've done is I've applied a serial number to a particular person, employee, and because the business rule said that we could only have that computer assigned to one person, our database is enforcing that and making sure that this actually is what happens. Similarly, with a department, we've said that a person must be assigned to a department, so our database is enforcing that as well. And this is all done through foreign keys. And the way that we connect this, by the way, is, and you probably have guessed this, is that the number for this department ID here, this department ID number, okay, is the foreign key. This number corresponds to, if I bring up this, the number here. So if I assign somebody department 6, department ID 6, this goes back and says that person is in business administration. If I go back and say that that person is in department 5, and I go back and it says they're hotel, restaurant, institutional management. And this is very valuable. It's extremely valuable because I can go back now and I can create a view, which we're going to talk about when we get to SQL. But a view is a way of sticking data back together. And so when I run this now, it just tells me which department people are in as well as which computers they've been assigned. It basically takes those entities and sticks them back together. And again, this is all done through foreign keys. This is all done through foreign keys. So it tells me that I've been assigned to the Microsoft Surface Pro. If I go in, we close this out, and for some reason I lose the computer and give it to somebody else, and let me give it to, let's see, let me give it to, who's the lucky person? I'm going to give it to Andrew here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I type that in. Congratulations, Andrew. You're the proud owner of a Microsoft Surface Pro. And I close that out, and I say yes. And now I run this view again. Guess what? Microsoft Pro, you are now assigned to Andrew Meltzer. So that really helped out here. This really helped out. Now there's other uses for this. You'll notice that we have a lot of people assigned to accounting and MIS, and this very long name of hotel, institutional, restaurant management. So you know what, that's really kind of long. So let me go into the department column, department table, and I want to change this from this long name, and I'm just going to say HRIM, and I'm going to change this to accounting and MIS, something like that. And I'm going to make that change. Well, guess what? Because that data are only stored in one spot, when I rerun that view again, it changes it for everybody. Notice that accounting and MIS has been updated for everybody, as has HRIM. Again, I can go back and change it for, let me change the department now to Business from Business Administration. Again, a very long thing, BUAD. And I'll change Finance to FIN and Economics to Econ. I change it in one spot, and I run the query now, and guess what? Whoops, wrong query, sorry, other query. And all of that now has been updated appropriately, and now it's much more succinct. So I just wanted to give you some insight as to how foreign keys work. They're extremely valuable, and they allow us to connect data by connecting primary keys to foreign keys, and you'll notice again here, primary key to foreign key. I hope that helps.